A very good evening and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Ravi Gamage.
And I'm Peruna. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Harupena discounts of up to 30% off for frames and sunglasses from Vikramarchi Opticians.
Protests continue against Indian intervention under the guise of Trincomalee development. The IMF approves the release of the second tranche of the EFF program. President says the IMF is the only option and there are no alternatives. Opposition leader says the funds were released because the VAT was increased. Professionals protest at Parliament roundabout against unjust taxers. Will Anura and Kanchana face off in an open debate?
විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයේ සමකාර කරන පිළිබඳ කිව්වා අමාත්‍යවරයා සංවාදයකට ආරාධනා කළා තියෙනවා අපේ පක්ෂය ඒ සංවාදේ බාර ගන්න සූදානම්
එතුමා අභියෝගේ බාර ගත්තා නම් මමත් කැමතියි එතකොට සිරස නාලිකාවට මම ආරාධනා කරනවා එතුමාට ආරාධනා කරන්න මම එන්නම් ඒ විවාදයට සහභාගී වෙන්න කියලා
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Harupena discounts of up to 30% off for frames and sunglasses from Vikramarchi Opticians.
Starting off with tonight's lead story. The 2024 appropriation bill was passed in Parliament by a majority of 41 votes with amendments.
The third reading of the appropriation bill marks the final stage of the budget process, and during the vote, 122 members of Parliament voted in favour, while 81 voted against it. MPs Diana Gamage, Sujit Sanjay Pereira and Rohana Bandara, who have been suspended from Parliament, were given an opportunity to exercise their vote for the budget. Roshan Ranasinghe, who was recently stripped of his ministry, voted against the budget. Parliamentarian Tuminda Disanayake, who represents the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, voted in favour of the budget. In addition, opposition MPs A.H.M. Fauzi, Vadivel Suresh and Anura Kumara voted in favour of the budget. SLPP parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa was not present in Parliament during the budget vote. On the 13th of November, President Ranil Wickremesinghe, as the Finance Minister, presented the 2024 budget speech in Parliament. It was debated in the House for a month, and following the vote on the third reading, the entire budget process came to a close.
විපක්ෂව ඡන්ද 81යි වැලකී සිටි 1යි. ඒ අනුව විසර්ජන 50 කෙටුම්පත වැඩි ඡන්ද 41කින් සම්මත විය. යෝජනා දිනට නියමිත කටයුතු යෝජනා අංක 2 ගරු අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමනි.
The People's Struggle Movement protested in Serua to highlight the Indian influence on the Trincomalee development program.
The People's Struggle Movement was joined by locals in Serua in a protest.
අපි දන්නවා මේ වෙද්දී ඉන්දියාවත් එක්ක රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ ජනාධිපතිවරයා අත්සන් කරපු ගිවිසුම් කීප
President Ranil Wickremesinghe has inked several agreements with India. Around 620 square miles in the Trincomalee district will be given to India to build its energy and economic power. In a bid to promote the establishment of the energy zone, recently the Indian Finance Minister visited Trincomalee to open a branch of the Reserve Bank of India. People in the Trincomalee towns, Ceylon Jetty and Samudragama have been told to cease any construction. They are indirectly saying that the lands are given to India. We demand the government to terminate this agreement with India. We also demand to seize every attempt being made to take over lands.
People's Struggle Movement also engaged in an awareness program a day earlier.
Under the guise of development, these rulers are looting the land that belongs to the people. No proper discussion was initiated for this purpose. There is also no discussion over an alternative or compensation for the people. The message among the people is that they will be evicted.
The International Monetary Fund Executive Board approved the second tranche of funding under the Extended Fund Facility or EFF arrangement for Sri Lanka early this morning.
The Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund completed the first review under the 48-month Extended Fund Facility arrangement. The completion of the first review allows for an immediate disbursement of about $337 million, bringing the total IMF financial support disbursed so far to about $670 million. The total amount of Sri Lanka's EFF arrangement is about $3 billion. Kenji Okamura, Deputy Managing Director of the IMF, said that all indicative targets were met except the one on tax revenues. He said that the publication of a governance diagnostic report, the first in Asia and a structural benchmark under the program, is a commendable first step towards addressing deep-rooted corruption weaknesses. In the IMF country report, it was noted that implementation risks arise from Sri Lanka's track record of reform implementation and the challenging political and social situation. A deeper crisis induced by delays in implementing the debt restructuring, a weakened banking sector, exchange rate pressure, and loss of market confidence could also complicate program implementation. In this regard, contingency plans are crucial and policies should remain agile to adjust to the evolving circumstances.
Exceptions were lifted from many items, but some of the most essential items, including the ones that are consumed by low-income households, are still exempted. These include fruits, vegetables, rice flour, and wheat flour. So despite the increase in the VAT, there are measures to help the poor and the vulnerable. The tax reforms that we have helped the authorities design are highly progressive in nature, so those who can afford to pay do so, and in a fair manner. It is very important in the program, again, to mitigate the impact on the poor and the vulnerable from many of the economic reforms that are being undertaken. In terms of social unrest, we see that it is very important in the program, again, to mitigate the impact on the poor and the vulnerable from many of the economic reforms that are being undertaken. So as part of the program, we have designed a social protection scheme where there's a minimum spending floor. Last year it was about 187 billion rupees. This year, in 2024, the budget has increased it to about 205 billion rupees, and this amounts to around 0.6 to 0.7% of GDP. We have also worked with the authorities to ensure that there's better targeting and better coverage and accuracy of the social protection scheme, which will continue to help the poor and the vulnerable.
Commendably, Sri Lanka has also reached important milestones in putting debt on the path towards sustainability. Sri Lanka's agreements in principle with the Official Creditor Committee and the Export-Import Bank of China on debt treatments are consistent with the program targets. It is now important for Sri Lankan authorities and the official creditors to sign the respective memoranda of understanding. Timely implementation of the agreements, together with reaching a resolution with external private creditors, should help restore Sri Lanka's debt sustainability over the medium term. The IMF staff will continue to assist the authorities with creditor coordination in line with the IMF's policies. We welcome the authorities' firm commitment to strengthen social safety nets, including through a minimum spending floor, the selection of beneficiaries through objective eligibility criteria, and well-targeted spending through the dynamic social registry. We emphasize the importance of continuing to support the poor and vulnerable.
I'd like to point out that putting public finances on a sustainable footing is a very important part of the IMF program, and therefore, at the very beginning of the program, we had looked into cost-reflective pricing on electricity and fuel, and this continues to be a continuous structural benchmark under the program. Also, in the spirit of putting SOEs on a sustainable footing, one of the structural benchmarks was for the authorities to come up with a strategy on the rebalancing of the SOE's balance sheet. And here we had looked at 4 SOEs. One was Sri Lankan Airlines, Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, Ceylon Electricity Board, and the Road Development Authority. Going forward, SOEs will continue to play an important role in public finances. However, in terms of divesting SOEs, we look to other development partners to work with the authorities. For example, on the Sri Lankan Airlines, IFC is working with the authorities, and for CEB, ADB is playing an important role.
Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe noted that the International Monetary Fund endorsing the second tranche of the country's program will shed the label of a financially bankrupted state.
This marks a pivotal moment in our journey as we decisively shed the label of a financially bankrupt state. The people of this country were patient with the difficult decisions that I had to take. The people who were patient with those difficulties for the sake of the nation and those who supported me in Parliament are proud stakeholders in the operation to alleviate the country from bankruptcy. To uplift the country from bankruptcy. This applies to today's context. There are two paths in this journey. They are securing the support of the IMF and debt restructuring. We managed to properly handle both. Following the approval of the IMF for the second tranche, Sri Lanka will gain more. With $150 million secured from the World Bank for deposit insurance, our financial sector receives a substantial boost, ensuring its complete security. We are poised to receive additional funding for the development process from financial institutions such as the Asian Development Bank and JICA at low interest rates and favorable terms. This approval reinstates the confidence of foreign investors who can now invest in Sri Lanka without hesitation. Our international letters of credit are once again recognized. This victory does not signify perfection. We have a long journey ahead to attain complete economic freedom. We are cognizant of the difficulties faced by a segment of our society, particularly concerning taxes, including value-added tax. Imposing taxes was not a choice made willingly, rather a difficult decision, essential for securing the future of our nation. It is essential to acknowledge that those advocating for higher wages through strikes while demanding 10,000 or 20,000 rupees more may inadvertently harm the future generations. It is time to collectively contemplate the future of our country and the welfare of our nation.
අපිට බොරු කියන්න ඕනේ නැහැනේ. ස්ථාවරත්වයේ ලැබිලා තියෙන්නේ අලුත් සමතුලිතතාවයක් තුල. අර බිදට පෙරපෝලින් තිබුණේ.
There is no need to lie. Stability was achieved following a new balance. There are no queues. But what is the difference? If a family of 4 survived on 85,000 rupees back then, today they need 175,000 rupees to survive. Therefore, this stability comes at a time where the cost of living has spiked to 95%. We have not been lifted from the default rating. We have not been positioned at even the C+ rating. If Fitch and Moody's lift our ratings, then we can say we have come out of bankruptcy. However, it is important to note that we are bound by law. On the first day, we said that as per the Fiscal Management Act, the budget deficit cannot be more than 5%. However, you are approving this with a deficit of 7.3%. This is what the President does not understand. The people cannot bear this burden. I believe you are trying to source 700 billion rupees after imposing the VAT that was recently approved. This is a mammoth figure that would double next year. What is the current tax revenue? You have collected 900 billion rupees in taxes. What action was taken with regard to the liquor bottle sticker? Then there is also the sugar tax scam. The taxes are inconveniencing the people. The stress from society will mount when the taxes become unbearable. They might cross the limit in the days to come. Taxes were imposed on mammoth tractor, equipment and chemical fertilizer that are vital for the farmers. Taxes were also imposed on the equipment required to produce rice and rice products. The $3 billion from the IMF is not the important matter. What is important is confidence. If confidence is tainted, everything will collapse. Some are trying to turn a handkerchief into a pigeon like a magician. Yet there is not a majority say. You need a majority mandate to produce these matters. We will be committed to securing the mandate at the next election.
අපි අදත් ඊළඟ ඡන්දයත් අතර කාලෙදී කැප වෙනවා. එතුමාගේ කතාවත් ක්‍රියාවත් එකට ගැලපෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන එකත් කියන්න ඕන. මේ වැඩපිළිවෙලට විරුද්ධ
His comments do not match with the action. No one can oppose this program. It is the aspiration of them all for the government's programs to fail. Harsha De Silva commented on the 5% budget deficit. We mentioned before that a new Fiscal Management Act will be introduced. It will meet the international standards as well. However, we must say that the operation was successful and we managed to save the patient without losing a life.
patient මැරෙන්නේ නැතුව බේරගන්න අපිට පුළුවන් වුණා කියන එක ඉතාම වගකීමෙන් අපි ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න ඕනේ.
ඉතින් දෙවෙනි වාරිකය ලැබුණේ වෙන මොනවත් නිසා නෙවෙයි. වැට් එක වැඩි කරලා, විදුලි බිල වැඩි කරලා, ජනතාවගේ හිස මත කරපිට දරිද්‍රතාවය.
The second tranche was released by the IMF because the value-added tax and the electricity tariff was increased to add more burden onto the people while further nurturing poverty. We heard a comment about a rope bridge. So, are you going to secure safe passage for the Rajapaksas by walking across the same rope bridge? You have completely forgotten the 22 million people in the country. While speaking of the Samajivaka concept, you are feeding cake to the Rajapaksas and taking them to paradise, whilst people are sent to the gallows as the country becomes bankrupt. Do you want us to follow the same path? You have imposed VAT in every possible manner. You call this the path. You have created a paradise for the Rajapaksa clan. I assure that Mahinda Rajapaksa, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Basil Rajapaksa, Ajit Niwad Cabral, W.D. Lakshman, P.B. Jayasundara and Artigala, who led this country to bankruptcy and looted the country, will be brought before the law, and the resources of the country will be recovered via the Stolen Assets Recovery Program to provide relief to the people. We will add it to state revenue. Instead of doing that, you are adding an 18% VAT to electricity as well.
රාජ්‍ය ආදායම ගැන. ඒව කරනව වෙනුවට නේද ඔබ වැට් එක ගහන්නේ 118ට.
එකක් මට කියන්න ජාත්‍යන්තර මූල්‍ය අරමුදලේ වැඩසටහනට.
Tell me one thing. Do you want the support of the IMF or not?
මෙතුමන්ලට අවශ්‍යද නැද්ද කියන එක විතරක් කියන්න.
We are going to renegotiate the IMF deal. ජනතාවගේ පැත්තෙන් IMF එකඟතාවයකට අපි අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම යනවා.
Still in news from the Parliament, Leader of the National People's Power, Anura Kumara responded to a challenge posed by Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara yesterday, calling him for an open debate on the dealings in the energy sector. Disanayaka made the following statement in Parliament today.
Do any of you believe it is prudent to purchase 1 unit of power generated through solar at 50 rupees? Ordinary citizens believe that power generated through renewables such as solar and wind cost less. But according to your cabinet paper, a unit of power is 50 rupees. I am not for thermal, but today the price of thermal power is only 22 rupees. If so, how can solar power cost 50 rupees? Are the engineers the ones earning commissions? It is not them. Who is truly behind this? Tenders have been not called for these either.
Anything can be said within the Parliament. I challenge him to move court if there are any allegations concerning coal or fuel against me, the President or the government over the past 18 months. If he backs himself up with facts, I will be present at a public debate with him. There is no file where they have filed court cases.
මම එනවා ඕනම ප්‍රසිද්ධ විවාදයකට එතුමත් එක්ක. එම ෆයිල් වලින් ගිහිලා නඩු දාපු ෆයිල් එකක් නැහනේ.
MP Anura Kumara Disanayaka responded to the challenge today.
මා ඊයේ විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයේ සමකාරු කරන පිළිබඳ
I spoke about the energy sector yesterday. The minister has invited me for a debate. Our party is willing to accept it. Let's discuss whether it is him or us who know the most about the CEB. He is already due one debate with us because on a prior occasion he raised a matter regarding our comrade Vasantha Samarasinghe. Even he is ready. We are ready to hold a successful debate on deals concerning fuel, coal, solar and so on.
I have received a text message from Newsfirst regarding a statement Anura Disanayaka had made when I was absent from the chamber. It says Anura Kumara Disanayaka has accepted the challenge I made over a debate. According to Newsfirst, he has accepted the challenge, therefore I am ready too. I wish to invite Sirasa to organize this debate. I will join it. But when I was on the way to Parliament, what I heard was that his party had accepted the challenge and that Vasantha Samarasinghe would be sent in his stead. If that is the case, I too will send a representative of mine because Vasantha Samarasinghe is not even in Parliament.
The Professionals Trade Union Collective protested opposite the Podu roundabout in Battaramulla today against the government's unjust tax policy.
The Professionals Trade Union Collective organized a protest demanding the government to repeal the unfair and arbitrary tax amendments which burden the people. The Government Medical Officers Association, Ceylon Bank Employees Union and the Federation of University Teachers Associations also joined the protest. A heated situation arose when the police anti-riot squad attempted to prevent protesters from blocking the road. Regardless of whether the budget proposals are passed, we will not end this struggle until tax policies are amended. We will continue this struggle. The government is attempting to burden the people further from January. The government is trying to survive on taxes alone, but they are only imposing the taxes on the people who are already suffering. This government still has not put an end to tax fraud, corruption and providing tax benefits to their henchmen. They continue to burden professionals with taxes. The rulers have still not amended the tax policy. During discussions, they accept that it is unfair and should be amended, but they point to an invisible force and blame the IMF. The tax advisors and specialists, economic advisors and finance ministry officials who represent the country and professionals at the IMF should be ashamed if they can't explain the country's needs to the IMF. They should reconsider if they should remain in their posts.
The 8th South China Sea Buddhist Roundtable, organized to mark the 10th anniversary of China's introduction of the Belt and Road Initiative, concluded following a special event at Temple Trees, Colombo.
The 2023 Colombo Forum on the 8th South China Sea Buddhism Roundtable is themed Walking Together in Harmony and Gathering the Wisdom of the Silk Road. The forum is presided over by Venerable Master Yin Shun, a highly esteemed and senior monk in China. The event is hosted by Gangarama Temple in Colombo. To mark the conclusion of the roundtable sessions, the Nanhai Buddhist Research Center and the Theravada Buddhist Research Center were opened.
A U.S. Foreign Relations Committee resolution says that Sri Lanka's crisis was exacerbated by government corruption and predatory lending associated with China.
A resolution expressing the United States' support for the peaceful, democratic and economic aspirations of the people of Sri Lanka has been introduced to the U.S. Foreign Relations Committee. U.S. Senators Ben Cardin and Jim Risch, Chair and Ranking Member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, along with the representatives Raja Krishnamurthy and Bill Johnson, introduced the resolution. The resolution urges the government of Sri Lanka to listen to and respect the rights of the Sri Lankan people by addressing corruption, ensuring justice and accountability for human rights abuses, and holding free and fair local and provincial elections without further delay. The resolution recognizes that the people of Sri Lanka have faced a political, economic and humanitarian crisis which has had devastating human impact. It also notes that this crisis is exacerbated by government corruption, financial mismanagement, failures in the rule of law and predatory lending associated with the People's Republic of China.
News First with the people. Taru Painter discounts. Enjoy up to 30% off on frames and sunglasses this Christmas with Vikramarachi Opticians.
Still in local news, the prices of big onions have increased sharply at economic centres and shops across Sri Lanka.
1 kilogram of big onions was sold at a wholesale price of between 400 to 470 rupees at the Dambulla Dedicated Economic Centre today. Traders said the prices were increased as a result of India imposing export restrictions on big onions.
We buy 150 to 200 kilograms of big onions for a week. Now it is difficult to buy onions. Prices of onions increased because local farmers didn't cultivate onions this time. The people of Sri Lanka only have imported onions now.
The price of big onions was over 400 rupees in Peta and other areas as well.
3 days ago, the price was 240 to 250 rupees. Today, it is 400 rupees. India has imposed export restrictions for 3 months, so we don't get the goods. We bring it for 430 to 440 rupees and sell it for 480 rupees after throwing away the spoilt ones. The consumers ask the rates and leave. It is not a joke that 1 kilogram of big onions is 400 rupees. They said India stopped exporting onions and the prices in Sri Lanka doubled. People now ask the price and get worried.
There is a low number of farmers in Sri Lanka who cultivate big onions. We bring onions from either India or Pakistan. I think that is a reason for the price hike.
Local farmers who supplied big onions to the domestic market at a large scale from several areas including Dambulla have stopped cultivating onions due to various reasons. They cited the lack of a proper rate for their cultivation and the failure to obtain fertilizer and weedicides at the appropriate time as the main reason.
We don't get a proper price in the market for our effort. We have to protest to sell onions at a proper rate. We give the onions for 30 to 40 rupees, but our expenses are high. So we have stopped cultivating onions and cultivate other crops to afford meals. We only had to import onions for around 4 months each year, because local supply was able to meet the rest of the demand. We would sell the big onions we cultivated for this harvesting season during the Sinhala and Tamil New Year as well. We used this to produce seedlings, but now we hang clothes on it. Because we have no use for it now. I used to cultivate big onions at a large scale, but now I am hopeless.
Parliamentarian Rohitabe Gunawardena elaborated on the Sri Lanka Podu Peruna conference that will take place at the Sugatadasa Indoor Stadium on the 15th of December.
People across the country have put up flags and banners from Point Pedro to Dondra in preparation for the conference. The people of the Pohotu are preparing for any election that will be held in 2024. There are people in this country who love President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපතිතුමාට ආදරය කරන මිනිස්සු මේ රටේ ඉන්නවා. අපිට මතකයි අර ගෝඨාභය ජනාධිපතිතුමාට නාම යෝජනා නම් කරන වෙලාවෙත් ඒ වගේම පණිවිඩ යන්නේ. ඒ වගේ එකක්ද දෙන්න යන්නේ? නෑ ගෝඨාභය ජනාධිපතිතුමාව නම් කළා.
No, Gotabaya Rajapaksa was nominated and was appointed as president. Then COVID came and we had to face more crises, and thereon we faced more problems. We accept that. Are we to go back to sleep if it is the same? No, we will nominate a candidate from our party and we will make him win the presidential election again.
අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂක දිනු. ඒ කියන්නේ 15 වෙනිදා රටම සර්ප්‍රයිස් කරන්නද හදන්නේ? බලාගෙන ඉන්න. 15 තමයි ඒ හොඳම දවස බවට පත් වෙන්නේ.
The World Bank's latest international debt report shows that developing countries spent a record $443.5 billion to service their debt last year.
The World Bank's latest international debt report shows that amid the biggest surge in global interest rates in 4 decades, developing countries spent a record $443.5 billion to service their external public and publicly guaranteed debt in 2022. The increase in costs shifted scarce resources away from critical needs such as health, education and the environment. Debt service payments, which include principal and interest, increased by 5% over the previous year for all developing countries. The 75 countries eligible to borrow from the World Bank's International Development Association, which supports the poorest countries, paid a record $88.9 billion in debt servicing costs in 2022. Over the past decade, interest payments by these countries have quadrupled to an all-time high of $23.6 billion in 2022. Overall debt servicing costs for the 24 poorest countries are expected to balloon in 2023 and 2024 by as much as 39%.
Parliamentarian of the Samagijana Balabega and Chairman on the Committee on Public Finance, Dr. Harsha De Silva, commented on the designing of a tax system during an event in Colombo.
Now, everyone has to pay. 7 people or 8 people have been found guilty of economic crimes, but 225 lakhs or 2.2 million, 22 million of us have been asked to cough up. So in that sense, the main thing is to be able to be disciplined about the fiscal side. Fiscal side does not include only revenue, it also includes expenditure. That is why in the program we have what is called a target on the primary balance. That is the annual efficiency of the government. We have to spend more on healthcare. We need to spend 3 times more in teacher salaries. We have to put more money into infrastructure. How can you spend less? We are one of the nations in the world, or we are probably one of the lowest expenditure per person on social infrastructure in the whole entire world. Why is that? Because we don't have revenue. Where are you going to get the revenue? So that's the issue. You need to fix the efficiency and improve the tax administration. Granted, but then go beyond that. What is the equity in taxes? Is it appropriate to whack tax on milk? Is it right to whack tax on solar panels? Is it correct to whack tax on medical equipment? It is not. It is unfair. It is inequitable. So fairness in taxes, then affordability in taxes. There is something called the Laffer curve, we all know, after a particular point. So not paying taxes, tax evasion comes, and also the incentive to pay taxes fall when you reach a particular point of inflection. So all those things need to be taken into consideration when you design tax policy. Then on the same side is the debt restructure. We heard a lot about the inequitability or the unfairness in the domestic debt restructure. We all agree. Now the issue is we have agreed to something.
The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka celebrated a showcase of excellence in corporate reporting at the TAGS Awards 2023 in Colombo yesterday.
CA Sri Lanka showcased its collective commitment to elevating industry standards by identifying organizations for their commitment that goes beyond meeting regulations and contribute to broader goals. Speaking at the event, country manager for Sri Lanka and Maldives of the International Finance Corporation spoke on principles that will benefit institutions in reaching better standards.
Transparency, accountability, governance, and sustainability. These are very charged words. These are words that have a deep meaning, in particular in Sri Lanka today. I want to mention a few of the benefits that companies can have by embracing these principles, because I think many companies think that these are costly principles that we have to adhere to and difficult to implement. Just a few benefits. Risk mitigation, for example. By adhering to sustainable and governance principles, they can mitigate a lot of the reputational, legal, and financial challenges that can bring operating in a certain environment. Talent attraction. This is something that's very important today in Sri Lanka with the massive brain drain that you're going through. But a lot of young talent, including Gen Z and millennials, are looking into companies that have embraced these principles. So Sri Lanka needs to extend the awareness about the benefits of these principles, not only in the private sector, but in the public sector as well.
The event was graced by President of CA Sri Lanka, Sanjay Bandara, Chairman of the Colombo Stock Exchange, Dilshan Weerasekara, Chairman of TAGS Committee, Tivanka Jayasinghe, and other key figures.
Minister of Fisheries Douglas Devananda says Applied research is needed to solve issues and grievances faced by the fishing community in Sri Lanka. Now, he expressed these views while speaking at an event organized by the National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency on Nara today.
Nara Scientific Sessions 2023 was held in Colombo today under the theme Sustainable Fisheries for Economic Prosperity and Food Security.
As an island nation, we possess rich marine and island fisheries resources, and the country needs a scientifically managed industry to cater to the nutritional requirements of over 20 million of people of the country. I believe that Nara scientists can contribute immensely for the development of the fisheries sector and well-being of the people of my country by planning and implementing mainly problem-oriented, problem-solving, applied research which is needed to solve issues and grievances faced by the fishing community. It is extremely important to strengthen existing regional research centers and to establish new regional research centers in order to implement fishery districts. I propose holistic level problem-oriented applied research projects should be planned by Nara scientists collaboratively with all divisions of Nara, including RRCs and other research institutes and universities in coming years to support the economic development of the country and socio-economic upliftment of the fishing communities by attracting international donors agencies.
The keynote speech was delivered by Professor Wishan Wan of the South China Sea Institute of Oceanology of the Chinese Academy of Sciences.
The region of the East Indian Ocean and the region around Sri Lanka is very important for predicting monsoon, and that has a very significant physical meaning, because when monsoon onset earlier or late, it will result in very important impact on over most of the region of South Asia. There are a lot of studies on the dynamics of ocean and atmosphere research in this region. But for Sri Lanka, they still have a lot of topic to do. Scientists from China and Sri Lanka, we can work together to share the data. And all the institute measurement is going to be carried out in international water.
State Minister of Fisheries Pial Nishanta De Silva, representatives of the Nara Institute and several others were present at the session.
In a thrilling first step towards international stardom, 27 gifted Sri Lankan vocalists set their sights on the world stage.
M Entertainment, a beacon of musical excellence, orchestrates this momentous journey, poised to unleash a wave of fresh Sri Lankan voices upon the global soundscape.
Today, I look to the future from the past. This is the future of Sri Lanka's musical excellence. Today, the walls of the iconic Stein Studios in Ratmalana reverberated with the joyous melodies of a new beginning. 27 fresh-faced vocalists, each possessing a unique timbre and brimming with artistic potential, inked a momentous pact with M Entertainment, Sri Lanka's premium entertainment brand. The signing marks not just a career milestone for these rising stars, but a pivotal chapter in the nation's musical odyssey. CEO of M Entertainment's Frederick Dissanayake spoke on the shared vision of a thriving artistic community.
Maharaja Entertainments, with its rich history and commitment to excellence, has been a beacon in the entertainment industry.
Today, we take pride in fostering talent and providing a platform for the vibrant voices that will shape the cultural landscape of Sri Lanka. Together, we embark on a journey to celebrate diversity, creativity, and the incredible potential that resides within the future voices of Sri Lanka. Let this collaboration be a testament to our shared vision of a thriving artistic community where innovation and expression know no bounds.
Group Director of the Capital Maharaja Group, Shevan Daniel, shared his thoughts regarding the signing of artists, which can be likened to a symphony of dreams taking its first harmonious note. We have a dream. When M Entertainment was launched, our late chairman R. Rajamahendran also had a dream. We share the same dream. If there are talented children in the remote parts of Sri Lanka, we will give them the opportunity to rise using that talent alone. Everything else is irrelevant. We hope to venture into a new journey by inking these agreements. By witnessing the signing of these agreements, any child from Anuradhapura, Hanguranketa, Matara and Jaffna can dream to come here one day. Under the M Entertainment banner, these 27 vocalists will weave a unique tapestry of sound. Beloved classics from Sri Lanka's musical heritage will find themselves reimagined, their melodies intertwined with the vibrant energy of original compositions and captivating remakes.
Harit Vijaratna Tasha Peruna. Ishara Akalanka then gives some patrila bagano.
සංගීතය පැත්තෙන් ගත්තත් ජීවිතය පැත්තෙන් ගත්තත්
You must join with the place that can provide proper management in terms of music and life. That place is M Entertainment.
ඒ තැන තමයි M Entertainment ආයතනය කියලා කියන්නේ.
M Entertainment කියලා කියන්නේ M Entertainment is a brand that can go global.
පුළුවන් විශාල සන්නාමයක්.
Since 1999, M Entertainment has been a cornerstone of Sri Lanka's music scene, a fertile ground where countless music dreams have blossomed into reality. From BNS to Iraj to Ashanti to Umaria and Centigrades, the label has served as a launchpad for some of the nation's most celebrated voices.
A special program was held today under the third phase of the LOLC Div Saia program in line with the Christmas season.
The program was held in Hambantota, Nuwara, Polonnaruwa and Kilinochchi districts. School books, school bags and stationery were distributed to schools with less than 50 children. Exercise books and school equipment required for a year were distributed to students of the Kirindagama Primary School in Hambantota, Dharmapala College in Nuwara, Galtambarawa Primary School in Polonnaruwa and the Mantuville South Arasaratnam College in Kilinochchi. This worthy initiative is a collaboration between the Ministry of Education and the LOLC Group.
The International Taekwondo Championship Colombo 2023 drew to a close in Colombo.
International Taekwondo Championship Colombo 2023 took place at the Sugatadasa Indoor Stadium for a period of 7 days. It was organized by the Sri Lanka Taekwondo Federation. The program of the International Taekwondo Championship Colombo included the GCS International Open Taekwondo Championship, Asia International Open Taekwondo Championship, First South Asian Open Taekwondo Championship and the GCS International Conference. Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Maldives, Nepal, India, Turkey and Malaysia took part in the International Taekwondo Championship Colombo 2023. 2,300 contestants along with 300 officials from 100 clubs took part in the event.
Due to a technical issue, several Newsfirst programs on TV1 did not air on POTV tonight. We are working with POTV to rectify the problem, which appears to be due to a reason beyond our control. We apologize to our viewers for any inconvenience. Our TV1 programs can be viewed on YouTube, Facebook, Dialogue TV, Channel 10 and Terrestrial TV. And with that, we are going to wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. I'm Ravi Gamage.
And I'm Peruna Ratna. Do stay tuned to Newsfirst as Sri Lanka's premier English talk show Face the Nation is coming up next. Good night.